Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical, Concierge Nursing. Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Lot to do today. We are live here from the Raising Cane studio in downtown Baton Rouge, and thrilled to have you with us. Darren Tietkin later this hour. We will have Western Kentucky head coach Tyson Helton next hour, bringing the Hilltoppers into Baton Rouge on Saturday. We'll have Mike Triplett in hour 3, so a ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, another day in the Kiffin saga continues. I wish we were nearing an end. Doesn't feel like that's necessarily the case. We're certainly closer to a resolution today than we were a day ago. That's just physics. So here's the latest. Here on Thursday over at LouisianaSports.net, we reported something we've been working on for more than 48 hours now. Lane Kiffin is set to meet with Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Carter on Friday to discuss at length his future at Ole Miss. And there are two key components of this meeting. One is Keith Carter wants clarity from Kiffin on what he's thinking, what he's going to do. It's not an ultimatum, as was reported last week by Stuart Mandel. I think by now a lot of people have debunked that as maybe the verbiage was a little too strong, but Ole Miss wants clarity from Kiffin. And from Lane Kiffin's side, what he wants very clearly now is he wants clarification on a comprehensive NIL plan at Ole Miss for the next phase of the Ole Miss era. That's the thing that could be the deciding factor here for Lane Kiffin. Look, as we followed this along, there's a few things that, and this story has really consumed almost every waking moment of my life. There's a few things that I think that I can accurately deduce at this point. And I'm going to say again here at 3:05 Central Time on this Thursday, I do not know if Lane Kiffin is going to stay at Ole Miss, if he's going to pick LSU. At this point, I'm pretty sure I can deduce he's not going to go to Florida, but I'll get to more of that in a second. But anything's possible. They could jump back in and make a run, and we'll see. But here's what I think is we know of certainty. And by the way, all this will dovetail into that Friday meeting. It'll make sense. Just give me a second to explain how this all dovetails together. I think Lane Kiffin, a month ago, assuredly, almost certainly thought he was going to be the next head coach at Florida. Florida was going to fire Billy Napier. I guess it fired Billy Napier. They were interested in him. He was interested in them. And two things have happened. And by the way, I think Florida very much felt this was and you saw some of those reports last weekend. Done deal, all the stuff from the Florida side. But two things have happened. Number one, LSU fired Brian Kelly. And so LSU got in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes as well. And as Lane Kiffin has started to do his due diligence, asking in the professional community people's opinions that he trusts, they keep saying LSU is a better job than Florida. I'm talking about Nick Saban, Jimmy Sexton. People he trusts in the profession are steering him to LSU. I don't think that's a great surprise. So LSU came open. That's one. Two, Ole Miss is 10-1. That's a gigantic surprise. I think if you strapped Lane Kiffin to a lie detector, injected him with truth serum, he would have told you there's no way he thought this team, when last year's team was the one they dumped all the money in the portal and went 9-3, there's no way he thought this year's team with a Division II quarterback would be where they are right now. That they would have won at Oklahoma, beaten LSU, all the stuff, right? To where they're 10-1 and almost have a playoff spot locked up. Like if they were a 3-loss team right now, this would not even be a conversation. He'd be gone. I think this is something else we can deduce at this point is that the things that people have discussed that might be weighing on Lane Kiffin, like where his son is going to play high school football, I don't think that matters a lick in this. His wife's family being from Gainesville and his ex-wife having gone to Florida and her dad being a quarterback there, I don't think that matters a lick in this story. The more people that I have talked to in all sides of this, the clearer it is that Lane Kiffin, having been the son of a coach and spent his entire life in coaching, is making a decision singularly on one thing. Where can I go to win the most championships? That's it. Like that is going to be the thing that guides this decision for him. Not where his kid's going to play high school. There was this chatter in 22 whenever he passed on Ole Miss that his daughter didn't want him to leave. Like the stories I've heard recounted this week about that are jarring, but basically that had nothing to do with it. It was basically that Ole Miss had a better NIL plan than Auburn, and clearly that was the case. That's why I stayed. Nothing else. So I very much believe at this point Lane Kiffin wants to leave Ole Miss. I think he would pick LSU. I also think he wants to coach his team in the playoff. Ole Miss is not going to allow him to do that. That's something that I've said that everybody said we can all agree is a real thing at this point. So this comes to Friday. And I mentioned there's two parts of that meeting Friday. There's the part from Keith Carter wanting clarity, and he wants clarity for two reasons, and then Lane Kiffin wanting an NIL plan. Let's start with the Keith Carter component of it. Okay? Keith Carter wants clarity from Lane Kiffin for two reasons. First, because of the college football playoff. And this isn't in necessarily a particular order, but if you look at the college football playoff sort of bylines, actually they call it the protocol that the selection committee follows. There is a principle in there that reads, again, the committee will select teams using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering what their considerations are. One of the considerations, other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. That is the Jordan Travis rule from Florida State a couple of years ago. Remember, Florida State was undefeated. Jordan Travis suffered that injury. They got left out of a 4-team playoff. Essentially, Keith Carter wants to know, Lane, are you going to be with us? Because when that committee goes to pick the playoff teams, if Lane Kiffin isn't the coach, they can use that against Ole Miss to keep them out of the playoff. I know that sounds far-fetched, but Ole Miss is going to have to do some damage control and have a plan. By the way, I believe that plan would include Joe Judge as the interim head coach. Joe Judge, who was on Alabama staff, was the head coach of the New York Giants, is on Ole Miss's staff, on Lane Kiffin's staff at Ole Miss. I think Joe Judge would be the interim head coach if it came to that. And that's probably a thing that I think they hope would pacify the committee. So that's one, is the playoff. Number two is if Lane Kiffin leaves, you have to hire a new coach. And we've talked about this a little bit already, but if Lane Kiffin leaves and they have to hire a new coach, the longer you wait, the longer or the more you risk missing out on whoever your top candidate would be. There was a lot of smoke a day ago about John Sumrall in Florida. Believe what you want. I don't have a great handle on that. I've heard a lot of different things. You could read what I can read and whatever. Is he interested? Is he not? Is there mutual? Were they using John Sumrall as a pawn for Kiffin? I don't know. I don't know the story. I'm telling you candidly, I don't know. But Florida is, it appears, starting to mobilize other options, as it appears to all that Lane Kiffin is slipping away from Florida. And he's either going to go to LSU or stay at Ole Miss. Well, what if Florida wants to hire John Sumrall? Or what if Auburn wants to hire John Sumrall? Ole Miss, some believe, would certainly be interested in John Sumrall. I've been told from people very close to that program that they would very much be interested in Sumrall, might even be at the top of their list. Well, you wait another week. What if John Sumrall takes the job at Auburn or takes the job at Florida or whatever? What if you want to talk to Eli Drinkwitz and he takes the Florida job or the Penn State job? I don't know. Or the LSU job. Who knows? Like, the point is, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to, or the more you risk missing on a candidate that you want to hire while you're waiting on Lane Kiffin to make a decision. So from Keith Carter's perspective, he needs to get some finality and some clarity from Lane Kiffin for those two things. Now, the other part of it is what I alluded to, and I think this is just as big a part of that Friday meeting that's going to take place in Oxford with Lane Kiffin and Keith Carter, and that's the financial side of things that Lane Kiffin is interested in. Let me knock out a quick break. I'll come back and I'll pick up right there as we continue. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. If you're going to be tailgating this weekend for the Tigers and the Hilltoppers, make sure you have plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light in your ice chest. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. And remember, real quick, our friends over at Mockler Beverage, Form Energy, the Form Energy drink, Mockler distributes it. They have a signing meet and greet this Sunday with West Weeks. So last Sunday it was Wit Weeks. This Sunday, Rouse's number 770. That's the Arlington Creek. That's the Arlington Creek is the Burbank and Lee. Rouse's. So that's this Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. And they'll have autographed posters, Form 4-packs. So make sure you get by this Sunday to meet West Weeks at Rouse's on Burbank and Lee from 2 to 3 p.m. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light and Form Energy. Okay, quick break. Come back. I'll pick up on the Lane Kiffin, Keith Carter story, and I'll fill you in on all the rest of the deets. It's AFR.
After further review.
Think about filling up Tiger Stadium 15 times. That'd be 1.5 million people. That's how many realtors there are in the United States of America. Fill Tiger Stadium 15 times. That's how many realtors are in the U.S. Darren James, number 14 in the country. Number 14 in America on the transaction side. Getting to the closing table and finishing a deal. If you need to sell your home, why would you call any realtor other than the realtor that sells more homes than anyone? Call Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com, agent225.com. Remember, if you need to get to the closing table fast for the most amount of money, you need Darren James. So call Darren James or log on to agent225.com. That's agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
We appreciate Blazia and the great team over at Decision Critical. Remember, it's not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle, from bringing a baby home to end-of-life care. Maybe you get a tough diagnosis. Maybe you need someone helping transport you to and from the hospital for surgery, someone caring for you post-operatively. These expertly trained nurses are the absolute best. We recently had the Decision Critical nurses at our home to do a blood draw on Drew. Very difficult to explain to a special needs child while while you're holding them down and sticking them with a needle. It's very hard to do in a doctor's office. So their nurses came to our home at 9 o'clock at night to do this, raced his blood samples to a lab who they called ahead to make sure they stayed open so they could spin it. I mean, they're just experts. They're awesome. 10 out of 10 recommend. And if you're a physician, you should be referring your patients to Decision Critical. If you'd like to have that conversation first with Blasia, feel free. DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. But don't be fooled by the BR. Their nurses are all over the state of Louisiana, and they're opening up their Dallas office now as well. DecisionCriticalBR.com. All right, so we walked through in the open through the meeting with Keith Carter and Lane Kiffin Friday, and I told you there's two sort of perspectives here. There's Carter needing clarity from Kiffin, both for their playoff circumstance and because they need an answer, because they need to know if they need to get moving in earnest on hiring a new coach. The other part of it is Kiffin and a financial component of this. So the Lane Kiffin part of this is that wherever he goes, he wants to know what the plan is in this next era of NIL. Play this through with me, okay? We could argue that there is no program in the country that was more aggressive on the front end, at the beginning, onset, in NIL and portal than Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, the self-described portal king. Ole Miss built up the Grove Collective, funded it, and built their rosters through portal NIL, right? They were one of those programs that historically can't compete with the Blue Bloods at the highest level, but NIL leveled the playing field like it did for places like SMU and Texas Tech and others, and Ole Miss is in that number, and few did it as well. Well, July 1st rolls around, and this is the rev share era. So remember, part of the House settlement, collectives can no longer just pay student athletes. NIL had become pay for play. Ole Miss, you want to go get Walter Nolan? Great. Just pay him, dump a bunch of money in his bank account, and he's going to come play for the Rebels. Can't do that anymore. Every deal over $600 has to go through the NIL Go clearinghouse managed by Deloitte to determine if it's fair market value. So you can't just pay a left guard $500,000 and the deliverable is, well, he poses for a picture and a social media post. It has to be fair market value as determined by the clearinghouse. And from Lane Kiffin's perspective, his fear, as it's been explained to me, is that this clearinghouse is going to cause everything to revert to the old way, where it gives the powers back to the Blue Bloods, where things like facilities and coaching budget and staff and all of those things matter more. A recruiting base, all of that matters more than fundraising for NIL because you can't just pay through a collective anymore. What you can do, and remember, there's revenue share, which is level across the board. Every school can spend $20.5 million across all their sports to share revenue with their student athletes. Now, in most major programs, football is going to get 75% of that, roughly $14-15 million. Okay, so across the board, everyone's got that $14-15 million. Every school is trying to figure out, how do we funnel money to our student athletes on top of that $14-15 million? And that is the true third-party NIL that goes through the clearinghouse. And everybody's trying to figure out, how do we make that work? Is that money that's donated by boosters that's then given to a business, the local car dealer, whoever it may be, who then does the NIL deal with the quarterback, so to speak? Is that understand? So all that to say, Lane Kiffin wants to know from Keith Carter, what is the plan for the next era of NIL? We can't just have the Grove Collective go write checks to our players anymore. So what do we do? What are we doing? What is the plan moving forward so you can compete? Because Kiffin is not in. Again, this is abundantly clear to me. He is not making this decision because his wife went to Florida or his son plays football at Oxford High. That is not going to be the thing that drives this decision. He is the son of a coach. He is a lifelong football coach. He is going where he can win, and he wants to win championships, and it's about winning championships and legacy. Every person to a man that I have spoken with over the last 2 weeks about Lane Kiffin, they all say the same thing. He is a gigantic narcissist. He only cares about himself. He wants to win. I know that sounds harsh, but it's harsh hearing it from people as well. Now, I don't know Lane Kiffin. I'm just referring to you, relating to you, conversations I've had with people that know him. People that would consider him a friend say this. But I don't. All I know about Lane Kiffin is I've interviewed him on the show, had him in press conferences, media days. I've never sat down and had a meal with Lane Kiffin. I've never had a one-on-one conversation. I can't give you a firsthand account. I'm just sharing what I've heard from too many people. He's not the guy that's going to glad hand. He's not going to shake hands, kiss babies. He's not going to be great with boosters. Any of that stuff. He doesn't want to go to your fundraiser. He's awkward on camera, on mic. All those things are true about him. We know he's great on Twitter. But he can coach football and he can win. And as long as you win, all that other stuff can be forgotten. But this decision is going to be made about where he can go to win. And LSU's pitch is going to be, we'll have money for you. We'll have whatever resources you want. And oh, by the way, we've won championships here before. The place where you are, they've never done it. They can promise you NIL and this structure and whatever. They've still never done it. You did that last year. You went 9-3. By the way, the greatest coach or the greatest team in the history of college football was coached by Ed Ogeron, who you know well. Who's a better coach, you or Ed Ogeron? How do you think that answer is going to be for Lane Kiffin? So those are the types of things that he's weighing in this instance. Lane wants to see a clear path forward in the NIL era, and we'll see what Keith Carter is able to present to him on Friday. Now, the next question everyone should be asking is, okay, they had this meeting on Friday, so we can have an answer on Friday? Maybe not, because I don't think the report about the ultimatum and that deadline, I don't think that was accurate. It doesn't sound to me like they have given Lane Kiffin an ultimatum, a hard and fast deadline. Like, you have to let me know by 10 a.m. Saturday. I don't think that's the case. They're going to meet on Friday, see how that goes, and then based on the results of that meeting, Lane Kiffin will make a decision. Maybe he makes it impulsively Friday. Maybe he sleeps on it, makes it Saturday. Maybe he plays it out through the weekend. What I know is that Lane Kiffin wants this to drag out as long as possible because he wants to keep coaching this team. If he could make this decision after the season, it would be easy. He'd coach the season. They'd lose somewhere along the way in the playoffs, and he'd leave, like Kalen DeBoer did when he left Washington after getting to the national championship game for Alabama. He left for a better job where he'd have more resources and the opportunity to win long term. Not a flash in the pan once every so often, get on this magical run because you had Michael Penix and so on. Where can you win consistently? Lane Kiffin would be gone. The timing of it is what's challenging here. So I think what will happen is if Lane Kiffin decides he is staying, at Ole Miss, they will put this extension that's been on the table, they will put it in front of his face, he will sign it, and they will make an announcement sometime next week that Lane Kiffin is staying. If you do not see that, the longer this goes on, the indication is he's leaving. And he will be leaving for Baton Rouge. And from the Ole Miss perspective, I think they would very much like for that news not to get out until after the Egg Bowl. However, if Lane Kiffin indicates that he is not staying at Ole Miss, that would suggest that he's leaving for LSU. And if that's the case, he would have to let Ole Miss know that he's not staying and LSU know that he's coming. And if you think that news is just going to get buried for another week, got another thing coming. So I don't know how this continues to get suppressed. I don't know how Ole Miss continues to be patient, given why they need an answer. And similarly, at some point, LSU is going to have to know, are you in or out? I don't suspect that LSU wants to spook him. I'm certain they're willing to wait for him. But I think they would really like to have something signed and binding to know that he is coming. Will he do that? I don't have the answer to that. Everyone wants to know, is Lane Kiffin coming? I don't know. I'm telling you right now, I do not know the answer to that question. I think he has three really good options. He could stay at Ole Miss. He could take the LSU job. He could take the Florida job. He has three really good options, and I think in his heart of hearts, he still has not yet decided what he's going to do. I think he is preparing for the likelihood of any of them. That's why he sent his wife down to Gainesville. That's why he sent his family to Baton Rouge. That's why you've heard a lot of conversations about schools and a lot of other different things that are making their way around. And there's some morsels of truth and validity to all that because they're preparing for a likelihood of any three possibilities. But that doesn't mean a decision has been made. And as of this very moment, I do not believe he's made a decision. And LSU is going to continue to wait. Now, it is also worth noting that LSU has a Board of Supervisors meeting on Friday that was already scheduled. And this is something very likely where they'll discuss Brian Kelly's buyout and likely a contract for the new coach or contracts for potential coaches. As I understand it, those conversations will happen in executive session. That's behind closed doors, so it's not part of the public record. So reporters will not be allowed to be in the room for those conversations. But you better believe after those conversations happen, some of the who, what, where, when, why, how will leak out. We'll hope to have that on Friday as well. Friday will be a pretty pivotal day in the Lane Kiffin saga. And every day that passes, we're one day closer to finality. All right, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020. If you want to see 2020 or better than 2020, call 924-2020. That's right. After I had LASIK, seeing 2015, I didn't even know that was possible, but it's true. It's like superhuman vision. It's basically how much farther away from an object can you see with perfect vision and clarity than what the normal 20/20 standard would be. All I have to say is if you are sitting on the fence, if you've thought about LASIK, you've heard people mention LASIK, maybe you have family members that have had LASIK, just do it. Everyone you talk to will say, best decision I ever made, wish I had done it sooner, best money I ever spent. That will be you as well. But you have to start. Look, if you have HSA or FSA funds, don't let them expire at the end of the year. You could use that toward your procedure. Call the Williamson Eye Center. Go for that consultation before the year ends. 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review, and we are glad to have you hanging out with us here. Tyson Helton, Western Kentucky head coach, he'll be here in 45 minutes, bringing his Hilltoppers into Tiger Stadium on Saturday. Darren Tietgen in 15 minutes with our Fantasy Blitz. Before you set your roster, check with our guys at whotostart.net, who2start.net. Get your questions in. You can email us, tweet us, or text us in the 225 at 396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways you can get involved in the show. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll go around the SEC and then get to our Fantasy Blitz. It's AFR.
AFR.
REV. Let's Rev. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com. Y'all, Rev, 90 years in business with 100% local service and support. You will never be routed to an overseas call center when you call Rev. How annoying is that? When you need, your internet's out, your cable's out, whatever. You need to get someone on the phone to help you. You call, and you're just in endless queues waiting to talk to someone overseas that you can't understand. Or you can switch to Rev and always get local support and dedicated account representatives for business customers. So for your home or your business, let's Rev. Guarantee Media, we're Rev customers. Parish Construction and Roofing, our roofing company, me, Terrio, Tilly, Joe, we're Rev customers. You should be as well. REV. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
One of the big stories around college football this week has been not only Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State reported job interest other places, but also his quarterback, Sam Leavitt. There's reports out there that that Leavitt, his representatives are shopping his services. Kenny Dillingham was asked about that when he met with reporters this week.
Yeah, I really don't listen to the outside noise. I just focus on us and our program and what we're doing here. That's kind of my focus with everything. So I'm just focused on, like I said, I thought we had our best Tuesday and Wednesday this week. I'm fired up about it. I'm excited to see if we can go play a 60-minute football game.
He was, they peppered him pretty good. He asked again, so will you have comment on Leavitt?
I'm focused on Colorado and trying to play our best football game we can possibly play this Saturday. This team still has so much to play for. We're in the hunt. It's November, and we're playing meaningful football with 2 games left. Through all the adversity this team has faced, like, our games matter with 2 games left. There's not many teams who take the field and their games matter with 2 games left. We're one of those teams. I'm focused on that.
So they got 2 games left, as you heard him say. They're 5-2 in the league. It's Colorado and Arizona. They win both of those. They get to 7-2 in the conference. It's a steep climb because currently they're 5th in the Big 12, but you could have upsets and things could happen. They don't play either of the teams remaining. They don't play any of the teams ahead of them in the standing, so they very much need help from around the conference. But again, refusing to answer any of the questions about Leavitt. He was asked point blank, do you expect your quarterback to return to Arizona State in 2026?
Me personally, I'm so focused on Colorado. I don't even care. It's like people saying, do you expect to be back next year? What do you want? People it's the same game.
Okay. Can't give a straight answer to a very direct question. It only raises more questions. By the way, Sam Leavitt is exactly what he should be doing. His representatives, if you're paying an agent to represent you, that agent should be seeking the best deal for you, period. That's how this works. This is interesting from an LSU perspective. You know where I'm going here, because if you play a hypothetical of what if you don't get Lane Kiffin, where do you go next? And I think a lot of people have heard the same names. I think Eli Drinkwitz is very much in play. Very much in play. If it's not Lane Kiffin, I think Kenny Dillingham, John Summerall, Blake Baker would be options. But if it were Dillingham, you'd have the possibility of Dillingham coming to Baton Rouge, potentially, with his starting quarterback. And that would solve your quarterback issue for next year. Now, obviously, Michael Van Buren started a week ago. He's very much in line to start this week as well, if Garrett Nussmeier remains doubtful, as it appears that he is. But who knows if Van Buren will be back next year. Maybe he hits the portal again. Colin Hurley's taken a leave from the team. You're very unsettled at quarterback both now and, I mean, if on Saturday and Nussmeier's not available and Van Buren, God forbid, twists an ankle, I mean, you're going either to a running back in Juwan Johnson or a walk-on freshman in Emil Picarella. I mean, you are in dire straits at quarterback. So you bring in someone like Sam Leavitt, you fix that in a hurry, year to year. And it buys you time to start rebuilding that room. Anyway, just something worth keeping an eye on. That's something that's floating out there. We'll certainly keep you plugged in. All right, it's After Further Review. Fantasy Blitz here in about 6 minutes. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com. Remember, with Arco, this is industrial Generac generator power. You hear us talk a lot. People talk a lot about home standby generators. That is not what Arco is. Arco is industrial power systems. This is for your business, for your municipality, universities, grocery stores, gas stations, broadcast facilities. Whatever it is, power goes out, your business goes offline. You can't let that happen. How do you power your business when the power is out? Arco Power Systems. Turnkey service. They can sell, service, install, rent automatic standby generators for your business. Maybe you have a big fair festival going on. You know, there's big giant trailer generators that power the whole fair. Boom. Arco Power Systems can help you there. Arco.com, Arco.com. Locations all over Louisiana, north to Little Rock, east to Mobile, west to San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Austin, everywhere. Make sure if you're a business anywhere in that footprint and you need standby generator power, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Auburn Tigers
DJ Durkin confirmed after Thursday's practice that Deuce Knight will start at quarterback for the Tigers against Mercer. He's been competing this week with Jackson Arnold. Ashton Daniels, who started the past couple of games after replacing Arnold, he'll sit out the Mercer game to preserve his red shirt.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
R. Mason Thomas is questionable against Missouri this weekend, along with cornerback Gentry Williams and running back Javante Barnes. Thomas dealing with a quad injury that he sustained in the win against Tennessee back at the beginning of November on the fumble return for touchdown against the Vols. He missed last week's game against Alabama. He's hoping to return Saturday against Missouri.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
State's added JUCO defensive lineman Tavion Atkinson. He's verbally committed. Had offers from 20 schools. I mean, like power programs as well. Arizona State, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, SMU, Texas Tech, a bunch of them. Anyway, 6'4", 280, 11 sacks this season in JUCO.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
And a little baseball note. So Frank Anderson, Tennessee's pitching coach, is expected to leave the Vols to join Tony Vitello's staff with the San Francisco Giants. The director of pitching performance, Josh Reynolds, will take over as Tennessee's pitching coach. Anderson's been Vitello's pitching coach for the last 8 seasons. He was the head coach at Oklahoma State before he joined Vitello there in Knoxville. Okay, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Thursday shows are presented by Decision to Critical Concierge Nursing. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Let me remind you also about their IV services, IV and therapeutic phlebotomy. Look, there's a lot of sickness going around. My wife was sick this weekend. Maybe you got a family member, friend, coworker that's ill. They're down and out. You got to stay hydrated. You know how you can get back up. That Myers cocktail, they'll come by and administer that IV at your home, at your office. No need to get up and get out to a clinic. They come to you. It's decision critical. Men, maybe you're on HRT and part of your therapy is your doctor requires you to give blood to keep your red blood cell count low. Okay? They can come to you, your home, your office, knock it out with that therapeutic phlebotomy. It's Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Check them out online, decisioncriticalbr.com, decisioncriticalbr.com. All right, Western Kentucky head coach Tyson Helton in 30 minutes from right now. Mike Triplett will be here in hour number 3. Let me knock out a break. When we come back, the NFL weekend gets underway. We always do it. Our guy Darren Tietgen, whotostart.net, joins us to answer your fantasy football questions. So line them up. You can email us, tweet us, or text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Our Fantasy Blitz is next on AFR.
AFR.
Oh, boy. Scrolling Facebook earlier today, came across the Clegg's Nursery Facebook page, and what did I see? Christmas trees, y'all. I know. Thanksgiving's a week from today, but you want to go get the pick of the litter? You want the absolute biggest, bestest, fullest Christmas tree? You better get by Clegg's Nursery right now. Look at these pictures. Gorgeous. Any of the 4 locations, they are loaded up right now with Christmas trees over at Clegg's Nursery. Segan Air Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. They're loading them up, getting them ready. You know, the Moscona family tradition over at Clegg's is on Black Friday, we wake up, we get our coffee, we go over to Clegg's to get our tree. We'll be there in 8 days. We'll be there a week from tomorrow, but you can go today if you want to go get the Griswold family Christmas tree. One place to go. Don't go dig it up out of the ground. Go to Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com. After Further Review, this is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.net.
Who the hell are you?
Whotostart.net. The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who's the bitten?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz, powered by whotostart.net.
All right, let's do it. Week 12. Golly, 12 weeks already. Week 12 of the NFL calendar gets underway. Buffalo at the Texans. Before you set your roster, check with our guys at whotostart.net, the numeral 2, whotostart.net. He is Darren Tietgen. Good enough to join us. How are you, dude?
Doing good. Week 12. Crazy.
I know, man. Playoffs will be here before we know it. Let's start with tonight. Certainly one of these teams will be in there. Buffalo, they're at Houston. What we keeping an eye on?
Yeah, Buffalo, obviously you're going to start Josh Allen. Now he's on weekly start. James Cook as well. But with Davis Mills starting in quarterback again for the Texans, look for Dalton Schultz to get peppered with targets. And then the Bills, their rush D has been terrible, so look for Woody Marks to have a decent game as well.
All right, let's see. The Broncos, Dolphins, Chargers, and Commanders all on bye. So any sleepers that folks might be looking for?
Sure, we'll give you a running back and a wide receiver. First at running back with a little bit of a revenge game for Aaron Jones, returning to Lambeau Field. He's been splitting the backfield with Jordan Mason, but Jordan Mason's been pretty blah. Doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield like Jones does. So maybe we'll get a Lambeau leap out of Aaron Jones this Sunday. And then for the Cincinnati Bengals, looks like Joe Burrow's going to possibly give it a go. So look for the Cincinnati offense to really run the pass game quite a bit. And with Jamar Chase suspended, look for Andre Isovas to kind of step up in that second wide receiver role alongside T. Higgins. So those two guys should do well for you this week.
Bengals are host in New England, noon Central Time kick. All right, let's get to your questions. Email us, tweet us, text us. You know the drill. You can text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. We start with Bo. Says, hey, Darren, who to start? Tyler Shuck, Caleb Williams, or Jacoby Brissett?
I think I'm going to go Williams there. A little bit of a difficult matchup, but he's been playing well, especially in the second half of games, and he gets the bonus of 3 or 4 points for rushing. So I think I'm going Caleb Williams there.
Spencer, who to start? Jamison Williams or Chase Brown?
I think Williams is probably the play here with Sam Laporta out and the head coach calling the plays now for the Lions. Jamison Williams has been a little bit more involved in the offense, so I think Jamison Williams is probably your play there.
Who to start? This is a full-point PPR league. He's got Ricky Pearsall, Zach Charbonnet, or Wilson in his first start with the Packers.
If Wilson is getting that start, I think he's probably the play. I haven't checked today on the status of Josh Jacobs, but looks like he's probably going to be out. So it's probably Wilson unless Jacobs miraculously comes back and plays. So we'll say Wilson unless Jacobs is in, and then you go Pearsall.
All right, Travis has a couple of questions for you. First, at running back, he's got Kamara or Gainwell. Who to start?
Yeah, I think the same thing with Gainwell. If Warren is out, then it's Gainwell. But I think Warren's probably going to play, so Gainwell's just going to get spot carries. So you're probably going the other way there. And
then at flex, he's got Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I'm going Smith there. Goddard seems to only do good when Smith and or A.J. Brown are out. So I think Smith is probably going to get more of the targets and going against a pretty weak secondary there. So I think you go Smith.
Jason's asking about Keon Coleman from Buffalo, asking if you'd start him this week or is he out? Do you know?
I don't. He was a healthy scratch. I guess he missed a practice or something happened. But he's been falling out of favor a little bit anyways. It goes against a pretty tough secondary here tonight. So unless you don't have any other options, I would probably keep him on the bench.
Wayne, who to start, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson?
Oh, that's tough, man. You've been pulling your hair out for 12 weeks probably. I'm gonna lean towards Lamar Jackson just because of the rushing ability. Good matchup against the Jets. I think Mahomes might just be playing a little bit of ball control against the Colts. So I'm going to side with Lamar here, but it's close.
A couple more here. You can get your questions in. You can text us 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Donovan says, all right, Andre Iosivas. Did I get it right? Iosivas?
Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, or Sean Tucker, who to start. Sean Tucker's way easier to say.
Yeah, Sean Tucker's easier to play, but not as easy to play. I think I'm going east of this there. As our sleeper is that second wide receiver for the Bengals, especially with Burrow back. I mean, if Flacco's still in there, he'd still be a good play just because Flacco was targeting all three Bengal receivers quite a bit. Tucker's earned himself some more playing time, but it looks like Bucky Irving might be playing, so it's going to be kind of a three-headed monster there for the Bucs. So I think I'm going to Andre Isovas there.
Last one, Tyler, a battle of the busts who may not actually be busts anymore. Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones, who to start?
I think I'm probably playing Jones there. Darnold looked a little lost against the Rams. I don't know if it's a trend or if that's going to continue. think Jones is going to be running the ball a little bit more against the Chiefs since they're going to try to lock down Jonathan Taylor. So I think it's close, but I'm going Daniel Jones there in what could be a shootout.
Who2start.net. It's the numeral 2. Who2start.net. He's Darren Tietgen. We'll do it again next week. Thanks, man.
Of course. Thanks.
Always appreciate it. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. ShawBillsTire.com. Name brand tires at wholesale prices. Matter of fact, they guarantee it. Buy tires at Shaw Bills. Find that tire advertised cheaper somewhere else. They'll refund you 125% of the difference. It's part of the Charlie's Dozen. A dozen benefits extended to you and every vehicle in your family when you buy your vehicles, when you buy your tires at Shaw Bills. So go to ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com to shop tires, schedule service. Thanksgiving is 1 week from today. 1 week from today. If you're hitting the road, over the hills, through the woods, to grandmother's house we go, got to make sure your vehicle's in tip-top shape to get your family there safely wherever there is. Shaw Bills can help. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com, Shaw Bills. We keep you rolling. All right, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Ton to do. We opened up the show today with an update. Lane Kiffin and Keith Carter, the AD at Ole Miss, are set to meet on Friday. Should have a little more clarity on what the Ole Miss coach plans to do. We'll continue to update that as we move throughout. SportsCenter's coming around just about around the bend.
AFR.
Hey, we're brought to you by Rouse's. I mentioned this a bit ago. I want to remind you, this Sunday, Rouse's on Burbank and Lee in Baton Rouge. West Weeks will be making an appearance courtesy of Form Energy. These are really cool stories. So Form Energy, their first ever NIL deal they did. Like anywhere. The first NIL deal anywhere was with the Weeks brothers. Awesome to see. Well, last Sunday, Witt had the meet and greet. This Sunday, West Weeks, meet and greet, Rouse's, Arlington Creek. That's the Burbank and Lee location in Baton Rouge from 2 to 3 p.m. Again, this Sunday, 2 to 3 p.m. Autograph posters. They'll be selling Form 4-packs. You can meet and greet with West Weeks. Get your pictures. Get your autographs. Great Tiger here in his senior season. You can meet him this Sunday there at the Rouse's on Burbank and Lee. They call it the Arlington Creek Rouse's. So check him out, Rouse's. This feels like home.